Welcome back to Undercover. We're here with Tegan and Sarah, being Sarah and Tegan. I did get that right, didn't I?
You did.
Yes. I was actually going to secretly write down like which one of which was wearing which colour, so I wouldn't get it wrong throughout the interview, but you're wearing the same colour.
Pretty much.
Or pretty close to.
Yeah.
So there you go.
We like to think our winning personalities differentiate us more than what our clothes are.
I'll try and hone in on that in the next 10 minutes. Now, in 2007, you've released The Con, your fifth album. After almost 10 years since your first record, how do you keep things coming so fresh and so new?
I don't know. How do we do that? It's like magic. Sometimes I get into my closet, which is where I write, and I come out 9 years. I come out 9 years later and I have a song. I'm very slow. No, I come out like 9 hours later and I'm like, I will go eat dinner and then I'll come back and put my headphones on and I'll be like, I just wrote a song. Like, it's like magic. It really is like magic, sort of.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's, I think when you start writing material, you can really get a sense for like where you're at. And then the cool thing about me and Tegan is that part of like how I keep the project fresh is by, like, I mean, obviously whatever I'm doing is very like intuitive and impulsive, but then I listen to what Tegan's doing and you know, it'll like make me feel like the combination of the collaboration of the two things seems really like exciting, because wherever she's at is usually a different place than where I'm at, so it's like the combination makes it really exciting, I think.
And more than that, like when you actually came together for this album, this record, to me at least, sounds a lot more intricate than ones you've been doing before. Were you actually, you know, consciously trying to evolve that sound?
I just think that we were like, we had the luxury of having put 4 records out before, so we were able to say that we wanted to take time off, and usually in between records that we would just get off the road and start pre-production right away, and we were usually just taking songs that we'd written while we were on the road and getting them ready to record, so we just didn't have a ton of time. And the last few records that we made, you know, we were paying everybody by the hour and being in a studio, and like you just don't have a lot of time. And with the Con, Sarah and I both set up home studios and had nearly a year to record everything at home by ourselves first, and then we decided that we wanted Chris Waller to produce, and we gave him, you know, copies of our demos, and they were so extensive and like sort of filled up. Like,
He didn't seem afraid to let our extensive demoing make it
no,
to
like,
the album.
yeah, like he like listened to the demos and was like, this is exactly how I want the record to sound. And so in a lot of cases we dragged a lot of what we'd already recorded over to the, you know, to the recording sessions in his house when we started to make the actual record. And so I think that instead of getting into a room and being like, okay, let's quickly put down bass and drums and then you guys play your guitars and sing and okay, we got to move on to the next song. Instead, it was like we had a map and we were able to lay down 20 or 30 different tracks before we even got to drums and bass. And so yeah, I think the record just took on a real different sound than our previous records, but our demos from our previous records sound very much like this record. It's just that we've never really trusted ourselves to be in control of how it sounded, and I think this was the first record where we had a co-producer who was like, no, we already, it sounds great, and which is kind of a lie, because John Collins and David Carswell, who produced our last 2 records, they really loved our demos, and they were like, when they heard our So Jealous demos, they were like, let's just put these out, like, you know, let's just put stamp done on it, and we were like, no, they're messy and out of tune and horrible, and they were like, yeah, but it sounds like you guys, and I was like, oh great, you know, let's go to a studio, make it sound really good. And so this was like kind of the first time where we trusted that maybe that out of tune, kind of out of sync, crazy mess of music that we were making was actually really strong and going to be very, you know,
Like
good,
appealing
yeah,
to the listener.
yeah.
You recorded a lot of demos in your homes, but you both live on opposite sides of the country. Were you did you sort of collaborate with each other, or did you just come together with 5 songs each or 6 songs each or whatever, and just hope that it worked into an album?
That's what we've done in the past, but this time what we would do is like, and I guess we did this on our previous record, So Jealous. We like record and you have your big session and there's like 40 tracks and whatever, and you just sort of like bounce it down and then we just send it as MP3s, and so I'll get an email in my inbox and it'll be an MP3 of a new song that Tegan's written, and I'll just like import that into my studio and I will like play over top of her stuff, and then I'll send it back to her and she'll be like,
But we've
oh,
never
I love
like
that.
written
And
any songs together.
No,
so even though
it's
we live
completely
apart, it really doesn't affect it. But certainly with this record, we had more time to collaborate at the end. Like once a song was,
like robots though, like the future, like we were talking about.
Yeah,
before
not
the
in
interview
person.
started. Never in person, just through robotics.
which is really
amazing.
cool.
Oh yeah. I mean, we don't even we're not even here right now. We're actually holograms beamed
yeah.
in. She's
Yep.
in Perth, so she's taking care of press in Perth. And how is it in Perth?
It's nice. It's beautiful. A lot of flies.
No, it's really cool. And the other thing too that I find that we do long distance really well.
Apart from interviews.
Is like what happened was like we had like about 22 songs that we were working like between the two of us. And so what we did with Chris Walla, who was the co-producer, we like the three of us sat down in a room together. Well, we were holograms beamed in together, but the three of us beamed our holograms together to help sequence the album like months before we actually recorded the album. So we took all the demos and we like mixed and matched, and it was like a game of Uno. It was like we were like, what sounds good together? And then we ended up with 14 tracks, and the 14 tracks
Has nothing to do with Uno.
no, it has nothing to do with Uno. I don't even remember how to play Uno. Anyway,
Obviously.
so
Just going to say Uno when you have one card.
that's
though.
it. Yeah. And so there was like, well, that doesn't make sense either, I guess, with this conversation. But so
Okay.
we had the album sequence. So for like 3 months, we actually had all the demos in sequence, and we knew exactly how the album was gonna play. And when we went into the studio to record the real album, we recorded in sequence. So we started with the first song on the album and recorded it, and when that was done, we went to the second song and the third song. And so we really like approached the album the way that's like a writer would approach writing a book. You don't start with chapter 17 and then work backwards or go to 5 or 9 or whatever. We really just started from 1 and let the story go that way.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're like Pink Floyd, basically.
Yeah. They're not as good as you.
No, they're old school.